All right, so before I start reading off this script here, I want to add a disclaimer. The following recording is going to be from the mind frame of an 18-year-old Stephen Rainmaker. Now, again, as of recording this, it's January 7th of 2018, but I'm talking to somebody I'm talking from a point of view of a young man who was extremely excited and angry at the same time. So I just want to let everybody know that my ill will towards certain people in this audio doesn't stand for how I feel now. It was just how I felt during the time. So another disclaimer is that one of the people I'm going to be talking about in this video, if you've seen my past videos with the NCWFA or the BCWL, in question, I'm talking about Dan Dominator, who was Dan Camlin back then. This involves him, his father Larry, his brother Brad, who was GAT9 in our company, and his sister Chrissy. So I talk a lot of negativity towards Chrissy Camlin, but just know that this isn't slander. This is just the point of view from somebody who's very angry. Me and Chrissy have actually become cool since then, and it was before and after these events. But I can't emphasize it enough. I was extremely angry when I wrote this. I actually just wrote this like not even a year ago, just because it keeps me from being bored. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and read off this script, and I'm going to use stockpile footage of the NCWFA. So anyways, my phone locked up on me, so give me a second. Alright, so, the road to WrestleMania. In the summer of 2006, Dan, Brad, and I had went to a Monday Night Raw show, which was held May of 2006. I don't remember what day it was. I think it might have been the first. I don't know. Check your calendar to look at the first Monday of May, and that's when me and the boys went. We didn't go together. I sat with this girl. Her name was Rochelle, which was like a cousin to Dan, Brad, and Chrissy. But Dan and Brad had their own seats, and they were watching the show or whatever. But anyway, so that inspired us to want to go to WrestleMania. We're like, hell yeah, now that we went to Monday Night Raw, how exciting do you think WrestleMania would be? So we heard word that WrestleMania was going to be held in Detroit, Michigan. So we were like, yeah, we got to take opportunity of this. All right, so I'm going to start from the beginning, so Brad, Dan, and I had plans to go to WrestleMania 23. It was being held on April 1st of 2007 at the Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. This would be my second wrestling show ever, as well as my first pay-per-view. Also, it would mark the first time I've been to Michigan, as well as the first time in 8 years that I've been out of the state of Ohio. So on paper, this sounded like a great experience for 3 young men, right? The tickets went on sale in November, and none of us had the money to go. So Larry, which is Brad and Dan's father, had to be the one to buy them for us. He also promised to purchase a ticket for me, and I told him that I would pay him later on, and I was good for my word. And he agreed, and he was good with it, so we drove up to the Kroger's on Hamilton and Refugee Road, and they had a little ticket master there, and we were getting ready to purchase tickets. On the day that the tickets actually went on sale, we went to the Ticketmaster, but they sold out like right away. That's no surprise. It's WrestleMania. It's a huge, event. But we were all certain that we wouldn't be able to go, so we drove home very upset. The tickets went on sale shortly after. So Larry and Dan went back out to buy them. I think Dan had called me. He's like, "Dude, WrestleMania tickets are back on sale." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna head over." He goes, "Don't worry, we're already heading our way there. Just meet us at the house." So as soon as I heard word, I ran to the house to wait for them. They didn't waste any time. They drove back to Ticketmaster. I walked over to their house, which I lived on Harbor, and they lived all the way off of Atkinson, which is down the street. So I don't remember who was at the house waiting for me. I think it was Brad. I think we were just bullshitting, waiting or whatever. And we were both excited, waiting for Dan and Larry to get home. And when Dan and Larry had pulled up, after they went and bought tickets, I saw that their sister, Chrissy, had tagged along with them, and she also got a ticket as well. My first initial thought was, alright, she's not a big part of the trip, or she's now a part of the trip, cool, whatever. I mean, she's not even really a big wrestling fan, but it's all good, I guess, Maybe this experience will make her a fan or whatever. So they gave Brad his ticket, and then the three of them proceeded to wave their tickets around proudly, as well as take pictures of themselves holding their tickets up to post on MySpace later, boasting and bragging that they were going to go to WrestleMania 23. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, where's mine? So, but then Larry's like, well, I only had enough money to buy 3 tickets. And I'm like, so it didn't take very long to add up this equation, but he gave what was supposed to be my ticket to fucking Chrissy. Of all the people in the goddamn world you could give that fucking ticket to was a person that didn't even like wrestling. I was really dumbfounded at first because not only was I not going anymore, but they paraded their tickets around without even feeling bad that their friend had just found out that he was not going to an event he planned for fucking months. This didn't strike them as like, oh man, we shouldn't do this in front of him. We should probably wait. No, they fucking were proud about it, taking pictures and posting it on fucking MySpace. And so I don't think I stuck around. I walked off. I went home and I'm like really upset. Nobody really felt bad, so I just walked home. I said, fuck them. So my dad found out. I told him about it. I was like, Dad, they got the tickets without me, and now I'm not going to be able to go. And need I remind everybody, my dad fucking hated wrestling. He thought it was the dumbest thing ever, and so I didn't want to like complain to him about it, but I had no choice. But I'm like, Dad, they took what was supposed to be my ticket and they gave it to Chrissy instead. My dad's like, are you fucking kidding me? That's bullshit. He was dumbfounded too. So he's like, how much are tickets? And I'm like, they're like $40. He's like, here, bub, have Larry drive you back up there and get you a ticket. So I convinced Larry. I don't remember if it was like the same day or the next day, but my dad gave me the money, and I drove up there, and I'm like, they're probably fucking sold out. So anyways, we get up there, and we're like, hey, we need to purchase another ticket. And the woman's like, oh, we got another ticket for sale, so I bought my ticket. Now, my first initial reaction was like, yeah, I get to go to WrestleMania. But then I'm like, we later on looked at the chart of where everybody was going to be sitting. I'm sitting on the far opposite side of them. I mean, not maybe, like, the Titantron, we'll say it was like dead center. They were on the left, I was over on the right. Well, actually, it would be the left of the Titantron, but whatever. But, yeah, I wasn't very happy. I was like, well, fuck. The whole reason why I wanted to go was so all of us could go as a fucking experience together, but that's not going to happen. Thanks, Chrissy, you fucking little cunt. You fucking bitch, you Judas cunt. Anyways, no ill will here. It is now the last Saturday of March, the night before we had to get on the road to Detroit. I spent the night with all of them at the new house on Champion. They had moved to Champion around December or January, I don't remember. So the night before, I got on the computer and I wrote down directions to our destination from MapQuest. This is before like GPSs and cell phones. So I had to make sure the directions were 100% accurate. We woke up early, we got some breakfast, and we went on the road to WrestleMania. Larry like cut my directions down because he was like, I know how to get to this road, this road. He's like, just tell me how to get to this point to this point. And I was like, all right. So along the journey, there was Dan and Brad and Chrissy's uncle, Steve. I guess he was going with us too, and I didn't know that, but I was like, cool. They were driving in a different vehicle than the ones we were driving in. So, and even if they wanted to go in the same vehicle, they couldn't. It'd be fucking cramped. So, it was like Steve and a couple of kids. I don't remember who all was in the car. I can't remember who all was with their clique, but whatever. So, anyways, another reason I could really care less about Chrissy getting mauled to death by lions, she fucking sat up front the whole way there while blaring shitty, soulless country and R&B music. And Dan and I just kept looking at each other like, ugh. Like, we want to listen to something different. Like, she played the same boring, generic, soulless, cockless, fucking paint-by-numbers, pop and rap and country and just all this talentless fucking one-hit wonder fucking music. And me and Dan at the time, we were both big-time metalheads and juggalos, so we really wanted to listen to, like, ICP or Slipknot or Mudvayne or Rammstein or Kiss. We wanted to listen to metal, we wanted to listen to hard rock, but instead the whole time we fucking just listened to whatever Chrissy wanted to listen to. We got to the hotel in Detroit, we all unwound briefly, and we talked about the show. So, another reason why I want to fucking shoot Chrissy with a nail gun straight to the eyeball is because her and Brad got their own hotel room. Yeah, they both got to share a fucking hotel room. The only thing that sucked for Chrissy is that she had to share a bed with Brad, which I'm pretty sure she didn't care, because she got to sleep on a fucking bed. And Brad got to sleep on a bed. Guess where me and Dan had to sleep? We had to sleep in a room with Larry, while I slept on the floor, Dan slept in some chairs, and Larry slept on a bed. So, yeah. There's another reason why I wanted to stab fucking Chrissy to death. Fucking little bitch. Yeah. So, Dan and I, we talked about the show, we talked about predictions, we were talking about who we wanted to win, and we were really excited about the Money in the Bank ladder match that happened that year, which featured both the Hardy Boys and CM Punk, and it was just awesome. And then we talked about, like, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. He was a Cena fan, and I just hated Cena, so I was like, I want Michaels to win. So we ribbed each other about that. We fucked with each other. He was a fan of Batista, and I was a fan of The Undertaker, and those two were going at it just like Shawn Michaels and John Cena. So naturally, I'm like, dude, Undertaker's not going to lose to fucking Batista. It's WrestleMania. Undertaker's, like, undefeated, so we fucked with each other. He goes, bro, I'm telling you, it's going to be like, what was this, 14-0? Yeah, he was like, yeah, or this would have been 15-0. And then he was like, 14-1, and I'm like, fuck you. So anyways, as soon as we got to Ford Field, I had told everybody to meet up at Comerica Park because we were looking for landmarks, and it's like, we all got to reunite here. Because not everybody had a cell phone. The only people who really had cell phones was like Brad, Chrissy, and Dan. Fuck Chrissy, by the way. Fuck Chrissy, by the way. Fuck Chrissy, by the way. Sorry, I just had to get that out there. But I was looking around, and I saw Comerica Park, which had a big tiger on it. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. Comerica? I don't know. But anyway, so I told him, I was like, hey, we all got to meet up here, and then we got to drive back to the hotel room. So we waited in line for a while, and everybody got patted down, make sure we didn't have weapons or cameras or whatever. And, of course, I had to sit in a whole different section than Brad and Chrissy. Excuse me. It really fucking upset me, because I'm like, Chrissy doesn't need to go. Why don't you fucking switch tickets with me and sit by yourself? But no, that wasn't about to happen. Everything had to go for Chrissy because she never gets her way. I'll fucking tell you about that here in a minute, because, God, I just hearing her voice, like, beg her father for my ticket fucking makes me want to just gut her. Still, no ill will of her today. Nothing bad to say about her today. So anyways, I bought myself, with the money that my dad gave me, I got myself an Undertaker t-shirt. It had, like, glow-in-the-dark eyes. It was all black. It was just badass. I bought some French fries, a pretzel, and a Pepsi. And I sat next to a couple of strangers, and we conversed. And I was nice enough to be like, hey, you guys want some French fries? So I shared some fries with them. After the show had ended, the three of us had went to Comerica Park as planned. Steve and his kids weren't there waiting for us, so Brad called Larry to figure out where the fuck they were at. Chrissy had told me she had filmed some of the moments, but they were all, like, black and you couldn't see shit, except for Undertaker's pyro. Like that also enraged me, because it's like, I didn't have a camera with me, and it's like, how about you don't fucking videotape and just enjoy the show for what it was? But before I continue on with this story, my very first YouTube video that I've ever done was actually the footage that she used for Undertaker's WrestleMania entrance. And this is before I knew about the fair use and DMCA laws and copyright infringement. So my video was removed for copyright infringement, and I don't understand the fuck why. But anyway, so after it was over, Dan and I talked about the show. We were talking to a couple of strangers on the streets, and people were from all over the fucking place. You had people from, like, England and shit, and Australia, and some people were from Ohio, and so as we're all talking, bullshitting, you know, I'm kind of ignoring Chrissy, because I'm like, if I keep hearing your voice, I'm gonna, like, curb stomp you. Then all of a sudden, Brad's like, wow, are you serious, man? And he threw his little earpiece off, and we're like, what's wrong? He's like, fucking Steve left. He didn't say fucking, because he didn't really cuss that much back then. He was like, fucking Steve. I keep saying fucking, but he didn't say. He's like, Steve left to go gambling. Which, in reality, that's not what really happened. Steve did leave us, but he didn't go gambling. What he actually did was he went back to Columbus as soon as the Undertaker match was over. So, no, the reason why he said Steve went gambling, no, Larry was gambling, their father. So, yeah, Steve took him and his kids, and they went back to Columbus right before the main event. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but did that son of a bitch leave two 18-year-olds, a 17-year-old, and a 15-year-old alone in Detroit fucking Michigan? From the information I've gathered through time, I guess Steve was a little dope sick. He had an addiction to, like, prescription pills, and he just drove back to Ohio without warning anybody, without giving everybody a notice, like, hey, I'm leaving, hey, Larry, can you come and get the boys and the cunt? And no, he just up and left, no explanation. So then we're all like, are you fucking serious? What a piece of shit. So then Larry asked everybody, he's like, well, hey, you guys want to take a taxi cab back to the hotel and I'll pay the guy when he gets here? So me, Brad, and Bitch were all like, yeah, let's do it. And Dan's like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I don't want to be in a taxi cab. Fuck this. I'm walking home. So he starts, like, darting towards a crowd of people. And, like, a bunch of strangers in Detroit alone. And we're like, you motherfucker. So we had to chase this fucking doofus around for a minute. And I need to remind you, Dan's a big guy. He's about 6 foot, and he weighs a solid, like, during that time, close to 300 pounds. So he was a big boy. So when you're in Detroit, Michigan, and they see a big dude, they're gonna fucking lob a brick at his face and then shank him. So allegedly he had some, like, out of the blue personal grievance with taxi cabs, so he'd rather walk blindly through a crowd of people in a well-known dangerous city. I thought to myself, what part of Detroit do these fucking numbnuts not understand? This city is nicknamed the murder capital of the United States for a goddamn reason. After we had to find Dan's stupid fat fucking ass in the crowd, Larry had to stop what he was doing just because he had a big doofus crybaby son who had never before talked about vendettas against cabs. So by the time this was all said and done with, it wasn't a great experience, and almost everybody was on my shit list. One person I'm going to exclude from all of this is Brad, because he didn't really do anything to me. To and from Michigan, he sat all the way in the back of the car and had his headphones on, listening to whatever he wanted. So he, it's whatever. He also had nothing to do with Chrissy being able to go, so nothing about that whole fiasco was his fault. One thing I'm going to rib him about is the fact that he got a hotel room and was able to sleep on a bed while me and Dan slept on floors and chairs. But I can't be too mad at him for that, so I'm not going to tell him how his dad's going to spend his cash. So Brad was in the safe zone, put him in the green zone. So let's put Larry on the list for a minute, shall we? Okay, so rather than telling his little princess no, he sacrificed me and let her have a ticket, and so he's on my shit list for that. However, he did take me up there and back, didn't ask for a penny for the hotel, and I even think he might have paid for my breakfast too. So he's very low on the shit list, not excluded. So what he deserves is a slap to the cock. Up next is Steve, the pill-headed junkie cuckold who told himself, I know I promised to take the Camlin kids and Steven back to the hotel, but I'll just leave before the main event, go back home to Columbus, and let these young people fend for themselves because I need a fix. For that, I wish that when he got home, he saw his wife fucking his dad, and that he kicked out of the house. Then he can pop pills on the street corners as he becomes desperate to get more drugs. I was also hoping he got addicted to heroin so he could sell his asshole out on the streets, and he got fucking AIDS. After he came inches away from HIV killing him slowly, I wish he had taken a lethal amount of pills and heroin, and then he'd overdose and choke on his own bloody vomit and bile. Next up is my best friend at the time, who should have partaken in stopping Chrissy from taking my goddamn WrestleMania 23 experience away from me. When she was begging her father to go, Dan should have stepped in like, hey, listen, bitch, my buddy won't be able to go if you go, so fuck off. You're not going, you're not a wrestling fan, eat a dick, eat shit, and feed you fucking fish heads. Even if he wasn't going to stop Larry from getting her the ticket, he should have told him that they were both fucked up for what happened and protested in my name by not going. Or at least, waited until I left the fucking house to fucking wave his tickets around. No, he didn't do that, so that's just reason number 2 of why I want to punch him in his stupid cock. Reason number 1 is developing an irrational hatred for cabs and walking his fat ass through a crowd of people in Detroit, the murder fucking capital of the United States. I was wishing that when his retarded ass was darting away from us, someone in the crowd would have pulled out a shank and gutted him right on the sidewalk, and he bleeds out, and then someone feeds him his fucking entrails. No ill will, I promise. Just so you know, Dan, even though I said that about you, I still love you. And I forgive you for being a fucking cunt. Finally, last but most definitely nowhere near the least, is Judas, a.k.a. Christina, bitch face, camel toe, cunt Camelin. Number 1, let's talk about the ability, or her having the ability to sleep in a bed in pretty much what was her own hotel room, while Dan and I had to sleep uncomfortably on a floor and in chairs. Reason number 2. Hogging the front seat to and from WrestleMania, playing shitty music, and making Dan and I wish a slow death on her. You do not know how many times I had to hear Before He Cheats by Carrie Underwood. Finally, the cream of the crop is taking my fucking ticket, nearly fucking me out of a WrestleMania experience. The reason I'm bothered by it the most is because she didn't plan for it from the word go. Also, she begged and guilt-tripped her father, saying shit along the lines of like, you always do things for Brad and Danny, but you never do anything for me. I want to go. You little bitch. This isn't some fucking movie or concert you always wanted to go to. It's WrestleMania. It's a big deal to wrestling fans. You are not a wrestling fan. You do not need to go. Yeah, but anyways, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the little bitch had her hand glued to her phone, texting her other low-life fucking degenerate friends while the matches were going on, because she had no fucking clue on what she was watching. She probably wasn't appreciating what she was watching before her. She was probably just happy to be in Detroit. It's like, we didn't go to the Bahamas. We didn't go to Hawaii. We didn't go to fucking Costa Rica. We went to Detroit. What the fuck was in Detroit that you wanted to see? Nothing. She was kind of a juggalette back then, and I understand if you want to go to Detroit. If this was an ICP concert, I wouldn't have been as mad. I'd have been like, well, that's shitty that, you took my fucking ticket, but whatever. But at least I knew that Chrissy would have appreciated the show. She didn't appreciate her fucking WrestleMania experience. I'm putting words in her mouth, but she's not a wrestling fan. To my knowledge, she doesn't like wrestling. Dan's now wife had told me that, yeah, she is a wrestling fan, but who fucking knows? But anyways, later on down the line, Dan and I quizzed her about her quote-unquote favorite wrestler, John Cena. Because I remember he walked up to her one day, he goes, F you, and she goes, F you. And he's like, what are, I was like, what are John Cena's finishers? And she's like, I don't know. What's Randy Orton's finisher? I don't know. So, you say you're a fan of wrestling, but you can't even name John Cena's moves or his finishers? No. So, this pissed me off even more. So, just for that, Chrissy, fuck you. Fuck everybody that looks like you. May you be fucking fed fish heads for the rest of your life. And then, maybe someone slit your throat, fucking boil you alive in oil, and have the fat sold for soap. Thank you, fuck you, bye, in the words of Jim Cornette. So again, I'm going to keep adding more disclaimers here. I just wanted to let everybody know I sincerely do not hate Chrissy, because her and I have made up since then, and I've gotten over the whole situation. I don't hate Larry. I don't hate Dan. I do still feel some ill will against Steve for doing what he did, because that was a scumfuck thing to do to a bunch of teenagers, especially when like 2 of us were underage. So fuck Steve. But again, like I said, this is narrated from the point of view of an 18-year-old Stephen Rainmaker, which I've grown up a lot since then. Not by a whole much, but I've grown up since then, and I don't hold any ill will. I haven't been to WrestleMania since, but I've been to a lot of wrestling shows. Not so much as being a pro wrestler. I have actually not been to I haven't been to a wrestling show since I became a pro wrestler. I have been a pro wrestler. Like, I'm a part of the show now, and I'll watch from the back, so I'm hoping to go to some future dates or whatever. But anyways, so this is Stephen Rainmaker, and enjoy the stock footage as you listen to me ramble like a Jim Cornette psychopath.